Okay, sorry about that all. We should be back now. There we go.
You can also sometimes get offered specific items that will be added as rewards. So in this case, you'll have to choose if you want to get 5 Chaos Orbs or a Mage Blood. A difficult decision, I'm sure. Now, as this is one continuous ritual, the encounters in the next map won't start from scratch. They contain all the monsters that were gathered from the rituals of the previous map as well, making them harder and harder. And that includes the map boss too. You will need to defeat both map bosses in the final encounter for your next effigy piece. And it still doesn't end there. Pick another map, another reward, and add another map boss to continue until the ritual of the Nameless is complete. It will take 5 maps in all, and will be an incredible challenge. But once complete, you can return to the Wildwood to perform the final rite. Transfer your name to the effigy, adorn the crown of the Nameless King, and enter the prison. Now of course, once the Pinnacle boss is complete, the League doesn't end there.
Okay, let's get back to
As you do
watching.
rituals on the Atlas, you can continue to give tribute to the King in the Mists for another audience.
Hey, what's up, Bravery? Welcome in. Okay, let's see what this is.
Pick another forest to begin the Rite of the Nameless once more, and this time with a harder Pinnacle boss and new unique items to find. Of course,
Okay.
we've also significantly upgraded the Ritual Atlas tree. Get points by completing maps in the Wildwood, and you'll be able to unlock some pretty cool nodes. Some of them affect the Rite of the Nameless, like this one, which extends its duration. You thought fighting 5 map bosses at once was hard? How about 6? Or this one, which makes maps during the Rite have more reward mods, often having 2.
Ooh,
You also have nodes that allow
That's
things
nice.
to combine with other
I
content.
like that.
Like this one, which gives a chance for rituals to be created inside summoning circles, adding a random boss to the ritual encounter. There is even a
Okay.
node which adds a new type of possible ritual, the Audience with the Queen, which causes the Bride of the King to sometimes appear. Okay, so that's ritual. But let's have a look at what this means for endgame content as a whole for Path of Exile 2. When you include the expedition changes made by the League, we have a total of 5 new endgame storylines, each of which has a hub, crafting systems, areas to explore, NPCs, and a pinnacle boss as a capstone. Not to mention the Masters of the Atlas storyline as well. But more importantly, you now have immediate quests as soon as you arrive at the endgame, and goals with obvious progressions that you can see how to finish.
Okay.
Each endgame questline has a progress bar that you can pop out from the side of the Atlas screen at any time that shows you how far through you are, and buttons that will take you to the hubs for them.
Let's look at
Overall,
Xeris.
it's just a way better endgame experience with a significant number of fun objectives to complete. But just in case you didn't have enough goals, we did have one other thing that you might want to complete this league. These are called challenge leagues after all. Where are all the challenges? Well, players of Path of Exile 1 will be used to the fact that each league comes with a series of challenges that you can complete in
Oh
order to prove that you
yeah,
are indeed the
dude.
best. We haven't done these yet in Path of Exile 2, but it's time to change that.
Challenges are back, boys.
If you're able to complete
Hell
them,
yeah.
you'll earn pieces of the Knight of Alder armor set. Opening the challenge screen will show you a series of 8 challenges. After completing each one, anyone in chat or in the forums will be able to see your prowess. In
That's
addition,
sick.
you'll get a statue to put in your hideout showing anyone you trade with how many challenges you've completed. You'll earn the first piece of the armor set after doing 2 challenges, and the full armor set after completing all 8. So that covers all the content you'll encounter in Return of the Ancients. But what about some new tools to fight against these new pinnacles with? Well, we also have some new Ascendancy classes as well, but to introduce them, I'll hand you guys back to Mark.
As Jonathan said, we have 2 new classes to show you today, the Spirit Walker and the Martial Artist. Let's start with the Huntress's new class, the Spirit Walker. The Spirit Walker has developed an affinity with the Asmerian animal spirits. She is able to infuse the power of multiple
Okay.
spirits at her
Hey, what's
choosing.
up, LFC?
On the bottom part of the class, you will find paths for each wisp you would like to commune with, be they primal, vivid, or wild. Each one can give you different abilities that align with the stag, owl, or bear. Each
Okay.
ability gives you a method to become possessed by wisps of that type, and a new ability when you spend them. The stag allows you to summon stampedes when you attack.
That's kind of cool.
The owl grants boons in the form of their feathers, which adds extra projectiles and enhances the projectile speed of your next skill.
Oh
And the
god.
bear simply summons a giant bear companion to your side. The bear will maul, slam, leap, and do intimidating roars to debuff
The
your
owl
enemies.
is crazy.
Now you can
From last
specialize more
season's
into each
build
of
with
these
the
wisps,
Whirling
but
Strike.
if you want to combine all three of them, then a new hidden power will be unlocked. The power of the Sacred Wisps. This node is free and enhances the quality of all three of your spirit animals. Your bear will take some of the damage you take and grant you life regeneration. Your stags will become more aggressive, leaping towards enemies. And your owl-empowered skills will leave a trail of soaring ground behind them. But that's not all.
That's
The
kind of
Spirit
cool.
Walker has other powers beyond wisps, such as Idolatry, which can give you large bonuses for using idle socketables in your equipment. And this one, which is my absolute favorite. The Spirit Walker, having attuned herself with nature, can gain the ability to tame beast bosses, opening up a whole suite
the
of very
hell?
cool options for your build. Maybe you tame the mighty Silverfist in the jungle depths. Or maybe a three-headed chimeral beast in the chimeral wetlands.
So it's a minion build.
Or then there's a giant
Or you can
frozen
do
owl
crazy
beast,
damage with it.
Rakar, the frozen talon. There's so many choices. You're going to have to experiment a bunch with this one, and I'm very excited to see what bosses you all choose to have as your trusted boss companion. Next up, we have the Monk's new Ascendancy class, the Martial Artist.
This is what I'm
After
interested in.
decades of training, he has mastered 3 of the 7 Hollow techniques. Channeling Hollow Form technique allows the martial artist to create illusions of himself, which then use a skill of your choosing. Perfect for turning skills with less area of effect into ones that can obliterate packs with ease. Should you find yourself overly vulnerable while channeling, you might want to take Way of the Mountain, which causes you to be covered in stone when you immobilize enemies, mitigating large amounts of damage. This can even enhance your attacks too. By hardening your weapon in stone, you can deal even more damage. After taking Hollow Focus technique, you can manifest your spiritual energy into objects. In this case, bells, which will appear around the martial artist and can be shattered by any of his attacks, even ones from the Hollow Form technique earlier. Hollow Resonance technique furthers that by adding a manifested bell to your back, which rings each time you deal a critical strike, damaging all
Interesting.
enemies around you. Through all the martial artist's thorough training, he has mastered the flow of internal spiritual energy too, and has engraved runic tattoos around his meridians. By doing this, he can gain the benefit of extra runes. Just open your inventory and add the runes. There is one that counts as a helmet, 2 as a body armor, 1 as gloves, and 1 as boots.
That's sick.
Finally, your hands, the ultimate expression of a master of the martial arts. Taking Way of the Stone Fist will cause your gloves to become a new base type when equipped. Each modifier on the
level.
original pair of
Is it
gloves
per
has
character
an
level?
equivalent, more powerful, and more impactful modifier.
Hey, Brian,
For
welcome in.
These gloves add some physical damage, cold damage, lightning damage, some resistances, and life gain on hit. Now, when I equip these, they become literal fists of stone, and not only grant me a bunch more evasion and energy shield, they
Good
now
God.
also grant a lot more damage, some maximum resistances, and a significantly higher amount of life gain.
So, quick side note, everybody, when you're looking at modifiers that are impactful in PoE2, do you see that attacks gain percentage of damage is extra? That is one of the most powerful damage multipliers in the game. It is one of the only true multiplicative mods you can get on gear that make your character insanely powerful in terms of how much DPS it can deal. Of course, there's other factors that weigh in, but like I abused this mechanic right here last season to just pump out millions of damage on my Spark Mage, where we were getting all of the different elemental types as extra.
On hitting enemies. With all the different rune combinations you could do, and the different modifiers and gloves, there's a ton of different build options, and we're looking forward to seeing what you can come up with.
Yeah, we're gonna do like see
Now-
what they were doing with the Whirling Assault. That's what we're gonna do with the Monk this league, and we're gonna do the Martial Artist one. And we'll play around with our Ascendancy and find out what's really, really good.
With so many new bosses in Return of the Ancients, Of course, we want to have a huge number of unique rewards. There are some pretty cool things in here, so we wanted to show you a few of them. Twisted Empyrean is a two-handed mace made from the purest of Verisium, combined with the beast's corruption. It converts all of your mace's skills fire damage to cold, and visually does so too, turning your volcanic fissures into glacial ones. This mace also comes with its own built-in skill, Starborn Onslaught.
Okay. I just gotta say this. Stop trying to get us to play maces. Nobody wants to play this slow, janky-ass way of playing. Like, I understand you're trying to fix it, but just give us some goddamn swords. That's all I'm asking here. Like, I'm so tired of seeing them try and reinvent the wheel every time with some sort of mace unique, and it's like, these builds are just not good. Every time someone plays it at the novelty, and then they go back to playing what's actually good in the game. Like, it's just silly that you guys keep pushing a weapon type that just is broken. No one likes playing it. It's chunky. Like, stop it. Put swords in the game for the character. Hey Jay, this is Path of Exile 2, so this is their 0.5 reveal that they're doing today. There's a new league coming out the 29th. So if you haven't played this, this is like Diablo, but the enriched version. Like, I won't even touch Diablo 4 because this game is so good.
Using Glory.
And other thing is this is an early access, so it's $30 right now. When it comes to its 1.0 release, it'll be free on release because this game does something better than any other ARPG, and it makes all of its money off of cosmetics.
You can leap backwards, throwing your mace at the ground, creating Verisium fissures, before calling behind it a storm of cold, metallic bolts from the stratosphere.
Yeah, like, this is cool and all, but it's so chunky and slow.
Next, we have Eventide Petals, an amulet that not only grants runic.
This is going to give us Runic Ward. This was the new mechanic that they put in. Crit chance. As crystals have 2% reduced maximum life per 5% cold resistance you have. Okay, I guess. I don't know what that really affects in terms of using like an ice unique like the hammer they were showing.
Ward, but also comes.
Here we get Midnight Zenith. While active, critical hits with other skills that kill targets or hit powerful targets. Okay, give you the Arctic Petals, which in turn create ice crystals. And then, yeah, lower the health of the ice crystals are good because you're trying to break them to create AoE damage. Okay,
with
I
its
see.
own reservation skill, Midnight Zenith. This skill causes your critical hits to grant Arctic Petals that hover around you. Once you have acquired enough of these petals, they will be consumed, creating a floral ice crystal near an enemy. Then, destroy that crystal to do devastating cold damage to everything around it.
Yeah, dude. This is sick.
The Raven's Flock is a staff perfect for minion characters. Not only does it grant Spirit Reservation,
But yeah, Jay, we're going to be doing a live 24-hour stream on League Launch, so we're going to go really hard in the paint as we play. It's going to be super sick, so definitely check the event in my bio. Drop a quick follow if you want to see more of this game. We're going to absolutely wreck this league. I've been playing this game for 1,500 hours, and by far the best ARPG on the market, even in early access.
efficiency, and minion damage, it also allows your minions to inflict grueling madness on hit, slowing
Okay.
enemies and making all other slows on them more powerful for
Okay,
maximum
super
crowd
slow.
control.
Nice. And Spirit Reservation
That's
efficiency.
not where this item shines though.
for your
It
minions.
grants a skill called Spiraling Conspiracy. This skill causes a flock of ravens to circle you, dealing damage over time to anything near them. Killing enemies, or just by standing near unique enemies, causes the flock to grow, getting larger and larger. For your PoE 1 players, you can think of this just like a Raven Righteous Fire.
Is this chaos
That's not all,
damage?
however. These
So if this damage over time, like Raven AoE, is chaos damage, this might be like one of the best starting builds you could do with just by getting that staff.
ravens are also minions, so they fully scale with minion damage and come with
Oh,
their own
God.
command skill, Mad Flight. This command skill causes your flock to create a tunnel of deathly damage, but
Yeah, so like you could use this as an active skill that's on, because as you can see, it doesn't consume spirit, so you obviously toggle it on. And then we could just have so many minions. We could use all of the minion stuff here and just absolutely dominate. Like, I think it'd be fun to take this staff onto the minion build idea they were just showcasing on the new Ascendancy for Spirit Walker, and then play minion build.
Between a set of illusory mirrors, obliterating anything in between.
Jeez.
Horror's Flight is a pair of gloves instilled with the purest of fear. Equipping these causes your enemies to become terrified of you. These gloves cause you to gain stacks of fear incarnate when you cull enemies.
You're not Culling Strike because this is like a
To
fun
aid in
Culling
your
Strike
culling,
build.
these gloves also come with the skill Crushing Fear. This is similar to the monk skill Killing Palm, except it deals chaos damage, and the amount of damage and area of effect scales drastically based on the power of the enemy.
So yeah, these are like very obviously made for the Chaos Monk to give it something good. And I like that, that's pretty sick. Seems interesting.
As you use this, gain your stacks of Fear Incarnate, which increases your culling threshold, meaning enemies become easier and easier to cull, even to the point of being able to instantly kill some monsters from full life.
Dang, dude, that's wild.
Sylvan's Effigy is a scepter for those wanting to run companions. It allows you to have any number of companions of different types, instead of the normal restriction of just one per type. But what makes this cool is the Asmerian Wolf companion it comes with. This is a persistent minion that bites foes to maim them, leaps to cause bleeding, and even howls to buff nearby allies. Additionally, it comes with the command skill Eternal Hunt, which when used it will howl, calling on the spirits to manifest spectral wolves to ambush all foes around.
Yeah, like this is kind of cool, but the only way you could wear the staff with this offhand is if you did the Jinn Ascendancy that allows you to do so. I don't even know then if you could pull that off, but that would be a pretty sick way to play, is run both with the Raven and the Wolf.
Liminal Coil is a crazy wand. It allows you to apply as many curses as you please, but those curses will have no effect. What's the point then? 2 reasons. Firstly, your spells gain a bunch of extra physical and chaos damage for each curse on enemies. Secondly, is the skill it grants called Coiling Bolts.
Yeah, this looks
This
like a
skill
fun
is
build for
projectile
ED
spell that
Contagion.
fires coiling physical and chaos projectiles with
So yeah, like what I would do is I would use ED Contagion with Coiling Bolts. And then yeah, you would just do the aura that gives you curses, right? So that everything you come across gets cursed whether you touch them or not. And this seems like a fun extension to what like ED Contagion could be as an in-game build.
every cast. What makes this skill truly special though, is that it will split and chain through every cursed enemy, causing an absolute ruckus. See for yourself. Periphery is a unique bow, which utilizes all the powers of the Asmerian spirits by dealing damage of all elements. And all elements can cause all ailments.
Yeah, but like I think this is a cool bow, but I haven't seen the elemental hit skill gem in the game like they have in Path of Exiles 1. So I don't know like how good this is gonna be. Right? Because elemental hit really benefits from all this stuff. When you're using like Frost Shot or Lightning Arrow, it's not gonna get the same benefit.
The coolest thing about this bow, however, is the Asmerian Swarm skill. These are minions that are summoned when you kill enemies. They will pursue all nearby enemies, damaging them and
Yeah, and again, like this doesn't help your bossing, right? So every time you kill a target in the game, it's going to give you whatever it gives you, right? So like like as cool as that is, when you go to fight a boss, like you're just like losing all of that effective damage.
inflicting a debuff on them that boosts your elemental damage even further. Watch as you
not a
mow
fan.
enemies down, and the swarms of Asmerian wisps aid you, melting enemies one screen at a time.
Yeah, I mean it looks cool, but eh.
The
Not a fan.
Ordained is a new spear, mastering in physical and lightning damage, with high critical strike chance too. This spear allows you to leech life not only from physical damage, but lightning too. It also creates a fragment of
So yeah, hold up on that. That is cool. So if you're able to leech off of lightning damage, this is the first elemental leech build that I've seen. The only problem is it's really hard to get your HP up. But yeah, for your spear builds, this is a significant upgrade to what was out there before for uniques. It'd be interesting to see how you could optimize it in game.
Divinity nearby periodically. What are those? Well, this spear has the skill Righteous Descent, which is an epic divine leap, aided by
Which is
angelic
fun.
wings. If you use the skill when a fragment of divinity is nearby, it will become empowered, dealing significantly more damage, gaining massive area of effect, and bypassing its cooldown. When fighting a boss, let a bunch of the fragments spawn, and then just unleash your divine havoc, obliterating them. Last, but not least, we have a new unique jewel.
So yeah, pretty cool overall. I don't mind it. I really actually enjoy that upgrade for the spear build. After they gutted it in 0.3, it needed something. But I don't know that that spear build's going to be top tier by any stretch, but it does make it more interesting and playable.
Voices. Voices is simple. It consumes 1 jewel slot to add more. There are versions that add 2 jewel slots, 3 jewel slots, and for those who are absurdly lucky or rich, one with 4 jewel slots.
Yeah, we're bringing back voices from Path of Exile 1. So there's one of the chase items in the game, everybody. If you get a 4-socket voices, which I'm assuming is going to come out of Delirium would be my best guess, because that's where they come out of in PoE 1. Yeah, those are going to be damn near a Mirror of Kalandra. Or at the very least, pretty close to that, like 0.8 of a Mirror of Kalandra, and whatever that ratio looks like in the current league. That's going to be really, really strong.
Equip it, and notice the slots appear next to your character's portrait in the center.
Yep, okay. Voices.
One of the things we are concerned about is how long it takes for experienced players to replay through the game in each new league. As we learned from Path of Exile 1, one of the things that can really help is having elements in the campaign that tell you where to go, if you know what to look for. We'll cover just one example per act for Acts 1 to 3, but there are many more than just these. For example, Hunting Grounds in Act 1 is a large, sparse area, containing multiple entrances and landmark encounters. Here's an example of some of the changes we've made here. Finding the ritual encounter in this area isn't too difficult. Now after completing it, a trail of locusts will lead to the entrance to Freythorn. Just follow it
That's a nice
and
quality
find the
of
source
life.
of the evil.
Instead of like walking the edge
You
of the
might
map
also find
endlessly for
corpses of
10
dead
minutes.
animals, killed and pecked at by the crowbell. You'll notice a
Nice.
trail of blood leading away from them. Follow the trail and it will lead directly to the boss.
This is great.
We
I
even
really
put
like
a
this.
signpost on the
So one of my biggest complaints about PoE 2 in their campaign wasn't difficulty. I mean, it's very difficult. It was the endless amount of slow walking that you do that's unpurposeful. So I think this does a attempt at curing that, right? Where hopefully I can take a 10-hour campaign completion down to 8 hours, 8.5 hours. As we're like in PoE 1, we're doing a full campaign completion with 10 acts, not 4 acts, and under 5 hours. So hopefully that helps with some of that. I get they want the game to be a little bit of a slog, but the endless walking was a little bit empty. I wasn't here to play walking simulator.
road to tell you which way to go to find Ogham Village. In Act 2, in the Mastodon Badlands, you need to find the Lightless Caverns and track down the Abyssal. Now to make this quicker, in the level you'll find these cracks. Just follow them, and it will take you right to their lair, allowing you to find and
Beautiful.
unlock the Well of Souls. In Act 3,
Yeah, this
the
is much,
jungle
much
areas
better.
have camps of explorers to sell you items. However, they are now even more useful. By talking to the explorers, they will point towards the next area. Not only that, but it will also reveal it on the minimap, so you can know exactly where to go. These are just some examples. We plan to do more and more of these over time in order to streamline the experience.
Yeah, these are great. I'm
Now,
glad that they're adding
As
this
this
to
is
the
an
game for
in-game
campaign.
expansion, it makes sense that we would work on Atlas QOL. We've added a search box that updates live as you type. Have a specific map you want to run? Now they will be much easier to find. If there are multiple maps, hitting enter will move you from map to map. Now, Making a character build in Path of Exile 2 can be pretty complex, and instead of designing a build yourself, many players enjoy following online build guides. We have a pretty awesome community that has built many tools over the years for designing builds, but we wanted to improve the experience of following them. So, we are introducing a new build guide system directly into the game client. Here's how it works. Community creators who write build guides can now create a new file format, a build file. Once downloaded, the builds appear in the in-game client, and selecting one will show you everything you need to know to make that build. So you
This
can
is
see all
sick.
the passives you need
So
to
I will
allocate,
be, hold on guys.
ascendancy points you need to...
So essentially what this is when I make my build in Path of Building, you don't have to then go to a link. I'm then going to post it into the in-game builder that they have here. And it'll be named Goodwin's whatever monk build, right? And you can go search Goodwin, go into there, see my build guide, and then you can toggle it here in that little build planner they have in the top left. And you'll be able to go through to see exactly where to path, exactly what jewels got put in, and everything that got put into the build for the Atlas skill tree. It won't include items, which is what Path of Building's for, right? You got to be able to go over items. They haven't touched on that yet. We'll see if it has
To
items
take.
with it.
skill gems you need to equip,
Yep, skill
and
gems.
recommendations for all the support gems you need to use as well.
Yep.
For items, the build designer can specify which uniques to use in each slot, or, if needed, just add some notes to the item slot to say what kind of item you need. In fact, build creators can add notes to just about any of these areas, allowing them to explain different trade-offs in context, or just give more info about how these things should be used.
This
They
is
can
great.
also give level ranges
Okay, so
to
there's
each
a
element,
item
allowing
thing.
recommendations to change over time. Great for builds that need to respec after they reach a certain level. Now, all of this is written in a standardized build format that creators can use, and we imagine that a lot of community build tools will be updated to add support for this format. Now that we have trade market searching built into the
This is
in-game client,
wonderful.
we have added the ability to price check items you can find more easily. Control-Alt-clicking an item will now search for it on the trade market, showing you the current prices. For rare items, it's handy to exclude some mods, so we added the ability to enable and disable each mod so you can see what effect each one has on the price.
Nice.
Next up, we're going to be talking about the new supporter packs for Return of the Ancients. Today, we're launching two new series of supporter packs, the Blood Reaver and Divinity packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions.
So this is where PoE kind of dominates everybody, right? Is in their microtransaction store, they put out supporter packs every season. And when you buy that pack, so let's say you spend $60, you get 600 points, which is points for dollars what you could buy in their little marketplace. So you get all these free cosmetics plus the same amount of points on what you spent for dollars to go get more stuff in the shop. Like, they just hook everybody so good in their cosmetic shop. It's so good. Like, if every ARPG did this, like, their game would just would exceptionally make more money, and PoE is the masters at it. Like, it's so fun to see all the cool stuff they put out every season. And, like, if I play a league for 500 hours, like I have every season, or 400 hours, like, I'm going to spend $60 with them. Like, they just have such a good replayability loop that way.
As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Blood Reaver series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions.
Yeah, this is dope.
Let blood fuel your bloodshed. The Exsanguinator weapon effect draws the blood of enemies you've slain and funnels it into your weapons. Turn the appearance of your endurance, frenzy, and power charges into orbiting globules of blood with the Blood Reaver charges. While your charges are active, these blood orbs will grow in size when you absorb more blood from nearby enemies.
That's kind
There
of
are
fun.
options to have pure blood charges, or charges that still display which kind of charge they are at their core. A taste for blood doesn't negate a taste for style. The Elite Blood Reaver armor features crimson leathers and golden accents to set yourself apart from uncivilized leeches. It also
Okay,
features
fine.
a back attachment, fashioned out of the wing of a colossal bat. Alongside every Blood Reaver is their trusted gargoyle pet. In true gargoyle fashion, they take the form of a stone statue when you are idle, leaping into action when you're on the move again.
Okay.
What
I like
good
you, I
is
like.
immortality if you don't have a vast mansion to come home to at the end of the day? The Eternal Blood Reaver supporter pack contains the Blood Reaver Manor Hideout. This exquisite two-story estate features an organ, a grand dining table, and cages for your visitors. You can alter the walls to create
This
as
is pretty
many
funny.
or few rooms as you like. Last but not least, the Servant of the Manor, eternally bound to the Order of the Blood Reavers.
Yeah, this is kind
This
of fun.
henchman
I
will
like
manage your
this.
store, so you can spend more time spilling blood.
Stop that. We won't disappoint you. But if we do, you've our permission to beat us most violently.
The Divinity Pack series also contains 6 exclusive microtransactions.
Okay, okay.
Call on Divinity to aid you in eluding enemy hits with the Divinity Dodge Roll effect. As you sprint, actual Divine Lightning wings will form out of your back, leaving a trail of radiance as you engage or escape from combat.
Yeah, this seems like the one I'd want to use on the
For
monk. It just
situations
looks
that are
fun.
too dicey, call on the gods above to send down the Storm of Divinity portal to create a safe passage for you to retreat through.
Yeah, those look sick. So we're probably buying the Divinity
Adorn
pack.
yourself with the Knight of Divinity armor set.
Yep,
A
my
highly
Divinity
revered
stuff looks
attire
good.
only bestowed to those deemed worthy for the divine cause. Equipping the Divine Surge character effect empowers you with a storm of divine energy. Using skills causes the storm to burst from your character, spilling raw divinity into the area around you. The Arbiter of Divinity wings are the final piece remaining to emphasize the force divinity has over this realm. This ancient precursor machine was found locked away in a highly guarded vault. Its original purpose is unclear, but it has been altered to fuel your maps using the pure, everlasting divinity within the statue. The pillars surrounding represent how many portals you have left for your map. This map device also tracks your
This is
progress
cool.
as you complete the new Origins of Divinity storyline, added this expansion. Additionally, all microtransactions from the supporter packs will be made available for use in Path of Exile 1. On release weekend, we will also be releasing the Return of the Ancients mystery box, which will contain 2 armor sets, a set of map
gotchas
devices for your
suck.
in-game adventures, a new tracking scroll that records the amount of currency
Never a
you've
fan
gained
of
from the
gachas,
currency
even if they
exchange
do a
or
pretty
your
good job
shop,
here with them.
and
But
much more.
it's a gacha
Like a
gamble
set of
box. Don't
finisher
buy them.
effects and affinity stashes. That's not all, however. The Fragment stash tab is finally coming to Path of Exile 2. And with
Nice.
it comes some tabception. Inside this one tab, there's a tab for your various boss key fragments. There's also a tab for all your precursor tablets, with each type of tablet getting 6 tabs of storage.
Oh, thank gosh.
Finally,
I was
there's a
just
tab for your
dumping
gym
into quad
barriers
tabs.
and inscribed ultimatums.
Ah,
Both of
thank
which get
goodness,
their
dude. They
own
needed
6
this.
tabs. That's a lot of tabs.
So we'll be buying the Fragment
that's
tab this
everything in
season.
050.
We need it.
This is by far the biggest update we've ever made to PoE 1 or 2. New
Yeah.
in-game storylines, pinnacle bosses, crafting systems, items, ascendancy classes, and so much more. Now, because this update contains so much in-game content, we're doing significantly more testing than usual. For that to happen, we're taking a little longer than usual between the announcement and the release. 050 will be released in 3 weeks on May the 29th, with the patch
Perfect.
notes being released on the Friday before that, on May 21st. But there's just
So May
one more thing to
21st,
talk
we get our
about.
patch notes, boys. I gotta write that down real quick because that is when we are gonna do our work. May 21st. We get our patch notes. We will be back here live. We're gonna do a video on it. What's good? What's bad? What's okay? I wrote it down in my little notebook so we remember.
Now
We'll
that the
see you
endgame's
guys
up to
May
scratch,
21st for
we
this.
have to start talking about our plan for 1.0 release. The feedback we've had during early access has been critical for making all the improvements that we'll be making to the game. At the same time, we had to create enough in-game content to make an ARPG that can call itself a successor to Path of Exile 1. Well, with 050, we now believe we have reached that point, and so this is going to be the last full-size league during early access. That's right, the next big update is going to be 1.0. Now normally we would do our next big content release in August, but in the run-up to full release, our plans take a little longer on this one. As big as 050 is, 1.0 is even bigger. So we'll be launching 1.0 this year sometime after ExileCon. But that doesn't mean we won't be doing updates in the meantime.
Oh, shoot.
In this final phase, we have a lot of things to polish throughout the game and balance to improve. I'm sure there'll also
So, guys, I just want you guys to hear that correctly. They are going to jump from 0.5 straight on to 1.0 after August, or starting after August. So when we get into wintertime this year, they are going to put out 1.0 PoE, and it's going to be fully free to play and download at that point, is what they're hinting at right now. So it's going to be, instead of a 4-month leak cycle, this is going to be probably closer to November, maybe December, 6-7 months before we get anything new again.
be feedback about the new endgame that we need to incorporate too. The difference is that the focus is not going to be on adding more content like the previous updates, it's going to be on improving what we already have. But we still want to encourage people to try out all the balance changes and improvements that we're making. So we're going to be running a few event leagues during this phase alongside each update. Think remixes of existing mechanics or features. And speaking of ExileCon, don't forget to pencil it in on the weekend of November the 7th in New Zealand. ExileCon is a gathering of our players, and a chance for us to showcase everything we'll be working on for both Path of Exile 1 and 2. And this one will be particularly important for us, since we finally get to unveil some of the coolest content that we've been working on for a while now with Act 5 and 6. Tickets for the in-person event are currently sold out, but don't worry, all the announcements and talks are going to be streamed online for all of you to watch. Now I'm personally
That's
so
awesome.
excited for this. This is the year that PoE 2 comes out. The campaign is finally finished. It's been 8 years to get here, but we're finally near the finish line. And with that, it's time to move on to our live Q&A.
So we've gotten some fun uniques. We haven't even got to see all of them yet. We can reforge existing uniques to upgrade their level, their requirements, but also their damage. And then we can also reforge armor in a similar fashion. We get a whole bunch of new crafting systems, reworks on every core mechanic in the game. Two new whole core mechanics added to the game where we're going to go back and add fortresses and islands. But like, this is a lot to unpack. Like, we're going to be here, guys, for 60, 90 days going through this game, right? Like, this isn't going to be like last season where we were just playing the game for 5 to 6 weeks at a time and then popping off because there just wasn't enough to do. So this is going to be a minimum 60-day commitment that we get into starting May 29th. I'm excited to do it with you all. Of course, on the 21st, when we get patch notes, I'm going to be going to work on guides, and then I'll be pumping out guides and videos of leading up to the 29th to give you all something to work with. So I'm excited to get into that with y'all. And we'll start ripping through what this is all going to look like. Oh, they're not talking? What is happening? Are they muted?
Plan for 1.0 release. Content that we've been working on for a
the extra looking
Oh yeah, it's like all cut up because they fucked up the audio.
good to sit down for a nice long Q&A once again today. We just had a teaser for Return of the Ancients expansion and its complete overhaul to just every single thing in the endgame, complete endgame overhaul. The Runes of Aldor League with a frankly somewhat confusing amount of craft.
I need him to ask the question, why the fuck do we not have swords, axes, and daggers? Like, what are we doing? So we're going to release this game into 1.0, still with no swords, axes, and daggers. I'm going to die on this hill, ladies and gentlemen. Like, why? Like, I still can't believe we don't have this stuff in the game. It's so wild.
And systems and things in it. It kind of keeps going. And then we've got like the Kalguran skills that work across weapons, the extra looking ascendancies and some insane uniques and all that sort of stuff. But honestly, it's kind of easy to talk about what's not part of 0.5. So with that very elegant segue, let's do that first. So I think some people definitely had an expectation or a hope that there was going to be a new class or a new weapon type here, swords perhaps.
Unfortunately, it's just the case that making a class is something that takes longer than a single cycle.
Okay, so yes, I'm glad they finally asked the question. Why the fuck do we not have swords? Like, what? What is happening?
So it was never going to be on the cards for 5.0, unfortunately. But
so it wasn't even that it was moved in this case.
No, it just wasn't. It just isn't something that we can do in that short amount of time. So it's going to have to be the next one before we're able to get.
Well, last time you guys teased like the druid and the huntress beforehand.
So I hate the answer. So he goes, "Why don't we have a class or a new weapon type?" So he completely ignores the weapon type question. Okay. And then just talks about, class is too much to build, and like doesn't answer the question all the way. What a dickhole.
Exactly. So it's kind of funny seeing everyone like this. Like, probably the mistake we made was having a sword in the teaser for the breach stuff.
I thought it was a fishing rod.
yeah. So no one thought about that, but it's just kind of funny.
It is a shame, but it seems like you guys have kind of. Well, you keep raising the bar on yourself as far as class design is concerned. Like,
and it's not like we're not working on it in the background, right? Like that is definitely happening.
I've been seeing a little bit of work going on there.
We're simple people from New Zealand. Like swords, they're advanced technology that we haven't gotten yet.
So we just don't understand.
We're trying to learn how they work.
Okay, I'm glad to I was a little harsh. Like, I'm glad to see them joke about it, but it's like, come on, dude. It's like the most glaring thing we all make fun of you for is that we don't have swords, axes, and daggers in an RPG. Like, at least you, like, are self-aware enough to realize, like, how stupid this is. Like, that this is a conversation. You just showed us all this great shit. All someone could ask you is, why don't you have swords in your game? Like, at one point, do you not, like, connect the dots and be like, we probably should put swords in the game pretty soon?
Just like get on the map, aren't you?
There's like a straight line, there's like some metal. These are complex things.
There's a lot to figure out there. But, do you care to speak at all, like, kind of what your plans are in that regard as far as, like, classes and...
I really shouldn't, just because, it'll spoil the reveal for that will come
not
some
exactly,
of the time.
But, like, what are you kind of hoping towards getting, like, from 0.5 onwards, in the lead up to ExileCon in terms of that? Are you hoping to get like all the classes in the game, just one or two more or something like that?
Well, so I think that...
So bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is we're not even guaranteed a 1.0 to have any types of swords, axes, or daggers. So we're just going to keep beating monsters with sticks. And I want you guys to realize that. It's the stupidest thing going out of this game by a mile. Like, as excited as I am about all the cool stuff we just saw, I got my eyes as big as saucers. I'm super pumped. At the same time, it's like the duality of like, how did you fuck this up so bad? At the same time, like, you're not even going to comment on like, yeah, we have a shot of having swords by 1.0. You know what I'm saying? Like, we might have another class roll out among the Marauder tree with some swords. We'll put some more info on it as we go. Because, like, that's all they need to do, right? And they don't even need to hook it to a new class. Hook it to your existing warrior melee class. And, like, that was the other thing that makes me mad about this conversation is anytime they get asked about, they go, well, it gets into class releasing. And it's like, no, you're perpetuating that weapon types have to go with classes. And that is not what this game has ever been about. I have ran around in Path of Exiles 1 wearing an axe, beating things down as a mage. Like, that's not the deal here. And you guys are just exceptionally obnoxious with this.
What the main focus is going between 0.5
Holy
and
crap.
1.0 is going to be more about like improving what we have, like polishing everything. And 1.0 is where you're going to get the like, the big new content update, like that's going to include the, Acts 5 and 6.
So we're going to get all of our acts, new content update, but still no swords on 1.0. If they release this game with no swords on 1.0, and they just pump out a couple of acts and some more overhauls, dude, like, it just makes that problem so much worse. Good golly.
It's going to include like class stuff. It's going to include like all that sort of thing. Because really, ultimately, the main goal of of early access is like make sure that all the systems that we have in the game are good, right? So we need to make sure the end game is good. We need to make sure that all of the like the skills, just the way that combat is good, and like all the various things like like even stuff that isn't good yet.
All right, John, you know what's not good? Only having sticks to hit things with. Dear Lord, dude.
Like Ascendancy Trials, right? Like, there's going to be stuff that we need to do for 1.0 to get good. And so, like, that's kind of, as long as we can get that stuff, then I think.
So, yes, on the YouTubes, everybody, I did cover a full video, like, kind of harping on the bad stuff they've done up to 0.4 before this reveal today. And like they just seem hell-bent on staying down that path. And it's like, okay. I mean, like, I like the game enough. It's a very fun game. But just like you're still missing core components of an RPG. And you're talking about releasing the game, and I think that just doesn't hit for people. What the fuck?
People trust that we know how to create, like, you know, an act at this point, right? Like, so that isn't exactly something we need to test per se, you know. So really what we need to do now is like assuming that people are happy with the end game that we've released in 050. That will mean that we've kind of checked all the boxes of stuff that we need to know, you know. And yeah, there's still stuff that we need to improve, and like that'll happen between 050 and 1.0. But yeah, like that's the main thing we need to be sure of. And then once we've got that, it's like now we can get, you know, the big update, the ridiculous update that is 1.0 ready.
And I heard you mentioning that recently as well, that you don't feel like you really need to get the last acts in for testing.
No. I mean, like,
know how to do that.
We know how to do that. It's one of those things that, you know, like, I look, people saw in for like we know what we're doing when it comes to that stuff. It's just, you know, yeah.
So the plan's obviously to get.
No, and I think people would take what Jonathan's saying here as hubris. It's really not, or arrogance. It's really not. Path of Exiles makes the best ad campaigns. And they know it, and I think it's okay that he's saying that. It may come off a little jerky, but they're right. Like, if you look at this game right now in early access compared to Diablo 4, Diablo 4 doesn't even come close. Like, here is Path of Exiles, and then here is 50 pounds of dog shit, and then here is Diablo 4 in terms of quality of game. Right? And, like, Diablo 4 may have a few better in-game systems as a fully polished game. But like their actual progression, it all feels janky. None of it's very smart. And so like what Path of Exiles does, yeah, they know how to create a campaign. They've been doing it for years. They made 10 acts in PoE 1. They got 4 acts in PoE 2. And all of it hits just right every time. So I get what they're saying. It may come off a little hubris, but this is like one of the times I'm going to defend the PoE executive team for saying something that may sound a little arrogant. They're pretty right on with what they're saying and what they put out in campaigns. They've got that piece of it figured out.
Like those last acts in, then finish the story and have all that come out at launch.
In 1.0, exactly. And look, that'll be the launch. Yeah.
Conclusion to the story then, yeah, exactly. So you have done, though, one extremely gigantic update here for Endgame. And it seems like you've done a lot all-in-one expansion.
Yeah.
And you've got this plan to like kind of do a little bit of like some other stuff in the interim. So why did you go for this route of trying to do so much all in one instead of spreading it out over, say, a couple of expansions?
So in retrospect, maybe we should have spread it out. But honestly, the reason is because we wanted to actually make it so that like we wanted to deliver a patch where like this is what we expect the end game to be. Like this is the template for what leagues look like when they're in end game and that kind of thing. And I feel like if we'd just done a couple of them, it wouldn't have really got that across. Like it needs to be like, once again, this is what end game is.
Right, they're trying to show the standard of like when we release an expansion on a specific piece, which we'll do in 3 to 4 month cycles, this is the standard we release them at. I can get behind that. That makes sense. And they pushed out a whole bunch with existing and a few new things to like get everything to rise to that same equal standard, right? To his point, like it's hard to show in a video game what your standard is where like one thing's great and then another thing still feels crappy because you haven't touched it in 3 or 4 patches and it was a basic framework as you were testing. Right. And like we're still in that early access mode where like they're like, we need to bring everything up to what our standard is of what we want everything to look like. So I get that. That makes a ton of sense. I mean, definitely a ton of work. So kudos to them for pumping this all out. And I promise you, it's all going to come with issues. We're going to cover it as we play. We're going to laugh at the dumb stuff as they fix it. We're going to enjoy all the good stuff. But like when you pump out this much content, like there is no doubt there's going to be a ton of issues with it. Like we're going to find weird interactions that don't work right. We're going to find all sorts of messed up stuff in the game that they're going to have to hotfix because they pumped out so much so fast. And like as a player of the game, I'm willing to go through that with them in an early access game as we're getting closer to launch on it. And it's part of the fun, right? Like if you go back and look at some of the original RPGs, like look at all the exploits that went on in games like Diablo 2 or EverQuest. And it's just a footnote in the game now. But at the time, it was just kind of a funny joke where players poked at game developers. It eventually got patched, but it was part of the culture. And that's also okay to have in a video game as you're developing it. Like, I think everybody looks at these big AAA titles and it's like, it better be the perfect thing that I want. And it's like, well, these guys are creating a game for 8 years and it's still not perfect. So yeah, I get what they're saying, but I'm excited to see what works and what doesn't and the hot fixes they make and just go down that crazy path with them like we have the last 15 months. So this will be fun.
And it really is fulfilling a lot more of what we had hoped for in terms of feeling like a world that you can explore. That there's things everywhere and that kind of stuff that we had wanted for. And the other thing as well is there were just like a few things about the current end game, right? It just didn't really give you goals in the right way. Like you get to end game, you don't know what the hell to do, and a lot of
Yes, so the Atlas being this infinitely expanding plane that you moved one dot at a time through, that was a barren, empty wasteland where you were literally just trying to find the smartest ways to farm currency. Like, I'm glad they're self-aware to realize that that was not a good in-game play loop. Like, that's what got people to stop playing their game after X amount of time, and whatever amount of time that was for them, whether that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And they weren't actually getting in a full 3-month season with people, even though their seasons were 3 months long, because there wasn't enough in game for people to do.
Players just leave right there. There needs to be the case that when you get there, like there's objectives, there's things, that feels like there's actually a storyline there, this kind of stuff, in order to entice players to actually go further than the campaign, actually get into endgame. So, I think that if we hadn't have done all of the leagues at the same time, it just wouldn't really have kind of gotten across what we're really going for there.
And it sounds like the plan now is to be able to focus on a little bit more polish in the lead up to ExileCon as well.
So, we plan to have some more leagues, but they won't be like content, like mega expansion type leagues. Like, it's more like kind of like the 1 month event type things that we've done.
So they've said anything interesting is they plan on having more leagues, but they won't be full-on leagues. So I take that as we're going to have a 4-month league for 0.5. Right, like we have been. So we're going to go May to September. So it'll be end of May to end of September will essentially be this 0.5 league. And then they're going to add in short leagues in the interim to tide us over until they're ready for a 1.0 reveal. That's kind of how I'm taking that. Has anyone seen anything different there? I know they're saying it in very vague terms because they can't put hard dates, obviously, to all this stuff because they don't know yet. And even if they have an inclination, they can't say it out loud of like, what are our target goals? Because then if they miss those dates, they look like assholes. So I get that too.
And that's really just because we want to be able to, we still don't want to do mid-league nerfs. And so to be able to do all the balance changes we want to do, because there's a huge amount of balance still to do, in order to do all that stuff, you still need to.
Yeah, no shit. You just pumped out so much content. There's going to be so many in-league hotfixes and then patches after to make this right. This is going to be an absolute cluster. There's no doubt about it. After seeing all the stuff they just pumped into the game,
have an economy reset, and so what we'll probably do is more event type stuff, like remixes of existing content, but also adding stuff where stuff's missing. So for example, we still have a lot more uniques we need to make, especially that mid-game uniques, so that kind of stuff. We now believe we've got the standard of where a unique needs to be in PoE 2 in terms of and it's way more than what you need in PoE 1 in terms of being to reach the standard. And so now that we've got that, we can expand on that, get more uniques, sort of mid game ones, that kind of stuff. So there's stuff like that'll be coming in the sort of.
It's interesting he says mid game so many times as you shouldn't plan a build around your unique is kind of what that says, right? But they need more than what they need in PoE 1, and I don't know that doesn't make sense in my mind because there's uniques in Path of Exiles 1 that you completely plan a build around. But you're putting more into these uniques into a higher standard in PoE 2, but they're for mid-game, and you're going to be adding more mid-game uniques. I don't know, that doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
The updates between now and 1.0, but it isn't going to be the kind of mega content craziness that we've got for OFO here.
We have
right, so we're going to pull back on content. Duh, makes sense.
As far as endgame things, while people watching live get your questions in the chat for all of that. In the meantime, I want to ask you folks about the new league, the Runes of Aldur, which this is an expedition rework, but it's also its own separate league. This encountering remnants, uncovering these runes throughout this storyline in the campaign, and then into endgame. And I was really it's a lot. There's a lot of crafting and items and reward types and systems.
So this is fun, guys. Just as a quick side note, because I'm stupid, I'm just going to title my stream for the first 24-hour stream that we do, just the Dark Ages of No Swords. because like we're just continuing down that path, and it's just kind of silly that they've just glossed over it.
And stuff going on here. In fact, Jonathan, you showed me this rather unhinged looking spreadsheet. Like I was like, oh, so these are just like random rewards or something. But then you showed me this spreadsheet, like that's like the recipes of all how different runes combine together to make different things.
Yeah. We probably put too much thought into it that it honestly needed. But like, like we have to make sure that like if it's an iron rune, like what kind of stuff would be creating that? Like that's just something that like the recipes have a lot more structure to them, and I suspect a lot of that plays.
Right. So that kind of makes sense where like an iron rune isn't creating, spellcaster stuff, or an iron rune primarily increases martial arts type things. Where it increases like your armor percentage or your percent physical damage. Like you don't want that to be attributed to spellcasting recipes in this new rune crafting system you created. So I kind of get that. Like that's obviously a dumbed down version. I'm sure a lot more thought went into that because there's hundreds of different types of things they're trying to do with this rune crafting system where they're creating new runes. They're trying to reward runes based off the runes. And it's like you have two full different rune systems working together to create this thing.
Don't even think about that. They just see list pick for item, like that's something I don't really think about. But there is some thought put into that of like what things go to what recipes.
One way to look at this league has the most spreadsheets we've ever made.
Like that's a title.
Yeah, so when he says something like this league has the most spreadsheets we've ever made, okay, so we create a rune crafting system that's fairly complex. We brought back the tree, but altered it in a way that fits PoE 2 and is different from what we did in PoE 1. So, right, that's going to have different calculations. And then you go into like the new delirium recipes, you go into new things that are going on the temple that they haven't even touched on. There's going to be new abyss stuff. And then the new expedition stuff going in tandem with the runes. So yeah, I can understand what they're saying in all facets where like they had to look at each individual core component they had in the game and rework like how those systems worked completely. And they had like an idea of how they were going about it or some sort of evidence to work off of prior or data to work off prior. But yeah, it was new creation in every facet.
The other day I was looking through we have this gig, it's called like Verisium Crafting or something.
Yeah.
I was looking through all the tabs and I was like, I was on like the 60th tab and I was like, the heck is this? I was reading all this stuff and it said like Mark's ideas and I was like, I don't remember coming up with any of this. I did. There's just like pages and pages and pages of crafts and stats and just like honestly I've lost the plot a little bit with respect to how many like different things we've made and like it's honestly just been crazy.
Idea writing.
Yeah. Some of the rune stuff is like also super bizarre. Like what's like I don't even really understand that rune that's got to do with uniques. Like what's going on with that?
It's called Olroth's Legacy. And it's a rune that you can place in Izimite and Kalgurin uniques to destroy the.
Okay, so that's one interesting they didn't touch on is they made Izimite and Kalgurin uniques, and they did a little bit when they did the unique reveal, but they didn't put actual marker tags to those of saying like this is where this comes from and it's a specialized unique that has specialized properties like what they did in the temple. So that's interesting to know. Because, like, in the reveal trailer, or in the reveal we just watched, they don't really touch on that super well, so that's interesting.
Unique, and it takes one of the mods off of it and creates a unique rune.
What?
With a slightly modified value sometimes, because obviously. And then you can put that in the same item class of a
I don't even know about this system. Systems just keep coming out of the
Holy, so, hold on. They just explained that you can pull, you have a chance. So if an item has 6 unique modifiers on it, right? And there's a specific mod you want off that unique, you have a 1 in 6 chance to get that onto this Orlos rune, and then plug that Orlos rune into a same type piece. And it could be a rare or unique piece. So let's say it's body armors, for example. Let's say I want the 1500 life off of Kaom's heart. I could get that at a lower reduced value. So let's say it takes it from 1500 to 800 or 600 or whatever the value they came up with is. And then I can go and plug that back into my yellow crafted chest piece that I liked. And I'm assuming with how their rune system has worked previously, you could only have one of those in per entire gear set, but that still is very interesting.
There's just so many crazy crafting things going on, but it was kind of like, well, when we were designing the league, we're like, okay, we've got Kalgurans, like what kind of crazy crafting and magic systems would Kalgurans have, like that would be different than the stuff that's going on in Rayclast? And so, you know, their whole magic system is based around like this star metal that they have Verisium, and then they like, you know, like the you know, words give it power and so on. So we're just kind of thinking, we're using that as inspiration for all the different crafting things you have.
So they're magical
Yeah,
elves,
blue
yes.
shapes and everything. So it
Kinda-
was just a lot
kinda
of
little nuts on this.
yeah, we
one.
went definitely. So there's so many crafting things. Like in fact, there's even more crafting stuff we had. Like, there were entire crafting benches that we have designed and practically like 80% implemented and then discarded. Like, there's just like a huge
Like,
amount of that
we
stuff.
can do this or some other
Yeah,
way,
yeah,
some
exactly.
cool way. Yeah, so like because I saw that there's like, oh, you can bench craft a thing and then it changes the unique and it has a new modifier, but now
Yeah.
you've also got a rune that steals modifiers off uniques as well. Which I had no idea
Why
about.
not?
Why not? You like making more work for yourselves these days. That seems to be a running theme. I keep saying this to you. Like, why do you do this? Like, why do you do this?
Yeah.
Why do you make it so you have to like
By the
from
way-
now on you always have to look at all the modifiers on gloves?
100%. So yeah, because of that monk ascendancy, now every unique we ever make that's a glove unique, we have to design extra mods that it changes to.
One
so-
other axis on that. All these new runes we've added, all of them. Remember that shaman that has that whole bonded modifier on every rune that we need to
Oh,
also
man.
add?
Yeah.
Wow.
So does that apply to the ones that come from uniques like that?
TBD.
TBD.
We're going to try.
committed.
Yes,
Yeah,
we are going to try to do it. Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, the idea is all of them will work. Yes.
So that's like there's some really unusual ones too, because there's runes that are designed to just be put in an item to metacraft and then be
Yes.
So they said something really interesting here. In the Shaman Ascendancy last season, when they released the Druid, you had what was called bonded on runes. What bonded meant is it gave extra modifiers off that rune to your character when you socked it into your gear. What they're describing is we've added new runes, but we haven't implemented the extra bonded effects to this new rune system yet. So that's interesting to know. If you're a person that likes Druid, that comment alone should get you to not play Shaman ever for this season until they add in the full value of what you can get off bonded. Like that immediately just goes to my mind of I'm not playing Shaman this season because of what they just described there. Because something that could be great you now can't do because they haven't implemented it yet.
place, right?
I'm really proud of that one actually because I really like the way that it's like doing metacrafting in a more understandable way, I reckon, than
Yeah,
what
it's-
PoE1 had.
it's much
So
more physical.
yeah, you put the
Doing metacrafting in a more understandable way. I think they've definitely achieved that. I think there's a lot of simplicity in how they did it before, but I'm excited to see how they've taken the ability to do your crafts in a organized way while having to invest and do some sort of essentially step-by-step process without 100% guaranteed effects, right? And I think they did move the pendulum a little bit last season towards that. It was a little more barbaric and slot machine-like. But if we could add more steps and take away the slot machine effect, like just a little bit, not all the way, and that's what those systems do this season, I think this, from a crafting perspective, this will be a very good season.
item in, you can start rolling different mods, but then you can take it out again by putting another rune on top. So
Yeah, and
I really
I
like
guess
it.
there's going to be maybe some process where you put one of those in, do a craft, and then put another one in, do another craft.
Almost
and then
certainly, almost
change it,
certainly.
layer
Yeah,
it all
yeah.
together.
That one's pretty cool.
Crazy.
We got like chronomancy mods on boots. You got like a berserking themed one for helmet. There's like a kind of decay damage over time one for gloves, and there's a few others there. So we've kind of tried to theme them as well.
Yeah, that's like even a different thing to what we've had in the past with meta mods. Like that's not just shaping how we access the current modifiers, but rather new modifier pools
yeah.
entirely getting added to items.
I mean, we also have that new modifier pool thing going on with Breach as well, where you know, with the new minion set of mods and the new caster set of mods on rings and stuff like that. Like,
Crazy.
yeah. But the thing is, part of the reason for this is because we really wanted to make sure. So one of the things we're in the sort of early design phase of this is we're kind of like every league needs to have something that you're going to keep, like, if you want to grind Justice League, that there's a thing that, like, a reward that, like, you can keep on, that keeps on giving, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That there's like a reason to keep on doing this, like, economically. So therefore, every league has to have some kind of crafting system that you can engage with for a very long period of time. Like, we didn't quite have that. For, like, some of the leagues sort of had that a bit before, but now we want to make sure that every league definitely has.
Yeah, so to like talk about their point, if you haven't followed this all the way through, 0.1, they just had ritual, right? Which was the basics of crafting. I mean, being able to augment your stuff with our ritual omens. And then we go into 0.2, nothing really there for crafting. 0.3, we get into Abyss League, which added like extra omens, right? And then a way to essentially benchcraft with a 33% chance predeterministic value to get what you want on your item. And then we go into 0.4 with the Druid. There wasn't really like a big crafting ad. They pulled some stuff back that they had done previously in Omens that really hurt the game. So they've been kind of back and forth on like how crafting helps the game. So it's cool to see them implement some crafting systems that are going to sound, which seemingly, I'm not going to say going to, but seemingly are going to be useful and to fill those spaces in a league. And where you do that content can help you keep progressing gear.
Something along those lines, so that just a reason to keep going.
Yeah, people can absolutely find like a niche, a service they provide the community or whatnot, which I quite like to see, especially the Breach Tree getting real deep cuts on some of those things that you can do there, and now with the runes and everything as well. So for the back to the Runes of Eldor, you're not actually needing to like find those runes that you're inscribing on those encounters, right? Because I wasn't quite clear on how that works.
Thematically, that's how it works, but in reality, the way that you'll engage with it is when you find a rune that's sort of inscribed on a thing, then like all the recipes that relate to that rune will be displayed, except for that there's a few hidden ones that you have to do some quests to get. So there's some more quests throughout the campaign, and also some stuff in endgame that you can do to unlock a few more recipes.
Yeah, but you're not having to like physically like cart these sorts of things around.
No, there's nothing like that. So effectively, like you're just picking from the book every time. So like if you want to just look at this as like, walk up to the object, there's some recipes, just pick which item you want. That's effectively how you can engage with it. But thematically, there's kind of more stuff going on with the way that the recipes form and what we decide to put in stuff.
So you showed that these remnants then, this new remnant system, obviously it shares the name with remnants from expeditions themselves.
Correct.
And in endgame it actually replaces those remnants. So you are still finding these standalone remnants from the League mechanic, like in maps as well as expeditions.
Correct. So yeah, every area there'll be a remnant, and you do the sort of standalone remnant mechanic. But then when you do expeditions, all the what used to be
Gosh,
called
Q&As are
there
kind of
have been
boring.
replaced
Sorry
by these
guys, we'll
remnants,
get through this.
which, serve a similar purpose because they both give you an extra reward, but also make the monsters harder. And even just making the monsters harder in itself, by the way, does add more rarity to the monsters. So like the more runes that you are adding to the fight, the more rewards you're going to get. So it's worth doing even aside from the reward that you're picking. There's still like extra juice that you're adding to the monsters as well.
We've effectively got a more unified monster mod system now, and so anytime we're pretty much adding mods to monsters, be it now runes, and we've even updated delirium mods to apply to the same system. They all go through the same. They all add. There's like a rarity, XP, life, etc. columns, and so we're just trying to make sure that there's a whereas before it's like system over here, system over here, system over here. They're different reward axes, and we're just trying to make sure it's all difficulty equals reward.
Right, and that's the key thing. Like we always want to make sure that whatever the difficulty we're adding, we're always adding rewards in kind. And a lot of the stuff in PoE 2, I mean, it's been quite hard to balance it, but it's one of those things that if you get it right, then it feels right, and if it doesn't, then you kind of don't know why things feel off and like why things is like this thing's too hard and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So on that topic, actually, so each of these runes has its own different modifiers that it does to make monsters harder. Is that something you can kind of engage with? You're like choosing the recipes?
So when you're choosing the recipe, you're also choosing what mods effectively go on it, because each rune that you're inscribing effectively comes with like, the thing that the monster's going to do. So there are definitely situations where you might want to decide to like pick something easier because you don't particularly like this mechanic or whatever, but it means you're missing out on whatever item is in that recipe. So like the goal there is that the harder, like the rarer the item, the harder the runes are that will be, the rune modifiers that will be added to the monsters.
Makes sense.
There's some pretty, like in expeditions and what we're now calling grand expeditions, because as what people knew as logbooks before.
The logbook is
the logbook is now is exploring the ocean. So,
it's actually this thing,
You get the cool things where, okay, let's say there's like 12 remnants and you want to get them all in the detonation chain. Each remnant you do the fight, and then one of those runes is passed on to be additive with the next. So it doesn't manipulate. So effectively, the monsters have the mods of the remnant, and then all of the next remnant's monsters have one of those runes as well as all the ones they had. So every remnant's harder than the next, getting more and more and more mods. And you can imagine if you go down 12, you can have technically up to 22 extra mods, which you'll note is the reason why we don't display a whole bunch of lines of text under it, and we instead have the bar of
Crazy.
actual runic symbols.
So you can mouse over those or something, can you? Like to see the modifiers?
You were meant to be able to, but probably not right now.
There's
weeks.
there's this thing that we'll do later, which is this pause rework. I'm gonna just spoil it now because it's like one of those things that we're gonna do. But effectively, the intention for frickin' ages has been, we just haven't had time to do it yet, that when you pause the game, you can mouse over all of the different things and like find out information about.
Oh, dude, that would be sick. If I could pause my game and see what stuff has, that would be insane. Yeah, I hope they implement that over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. That would be so nice to see in game. So, like, I want to be able to understand when I'm dealing with new content, what is taking me down, right? What is the mod that's getting me? Because my problem with Expedition's always been, you add, like they said, 20 mods to mobs. You have so much going on, you can't discern what is getting you, and you feel like you're fighting bricked mobs. So, like, yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of what you guys are going to see when we go do Expedition is you're going to fight stuff that feels like it's been bricked because it has so many mods, and you're just not able to even deal enough damage to get its life pool down, or it's immune to the majority of damage that you deal where it's just bricked out. And not understanding why, and you just go, oh, well, every time I hit this mod, it seems to brick my build out and being effective. And like where you're partially right, you don't have all the data to be 100% right. So being able to pause and look at what all those mods are and what they do would be a big, big deal, especially for Expedition.
Them. So the intention would be to like be able to expand all of that stuff, like so look at all buffs and explore like what exact stats they give and that kind of stuff. If you want to do that, we've just been planning on doing it for ages, but
Fantastic,
we didn't get around to it. But
I've been really keen on that.
Yeah.
Do note when you are the runes do say what they do on the remnant, and when the one that moves onto the next remnant has an extra icon above
So
it.
it's not actually moving on all of them, because I was going to say, because it's kind of like each remnant has a lot of modifiers, so it's not. Is it?
No,
just
so let's say you have a remnant with 5 runes.
Yeah.
One of them will have a symbol above it, and that one forwards onto the next remnant. And so you can do a little bit of.
You can have a crazy encounter, but the next one is maybe not as bad. You're like, oh, maybe if I just make it through that, it'll be okay in the next part of the expedition.
Yeah, but then so the order of them kind of matters as well. And then, like, okay, let's say obviously each remnant gives a reward. There's a little bit of a more, if you're a juicer, so to speak, you're going to want to do a thing where you're like, okay, I want to get as many runes as possible. And so you want to kind of do things like avoiding overlaps. You want to make sure the last remnant has the most amount of runes, probably. And there's all these like different little things you can think about to try and
expedition. Then
there is, yes, and it's the kind of thing where people are like, I'm going to try and squeeze the most amount of rewards out of these out. Or if you just want to just go blow up a bunch of stuff, also that's completely fine.
On that note, extreme archaeology is still a thing with this new system then? The giant explosion?
Not in the direct sense.
How do you mean?
Well, not with grand logbooks.
Right. Well, with the regular encounters and maps. That was always
I
the thing
believe
anyway.
it's on one of the master nodes.
Oh, yeah, cool.
I need to double check that because I can't be sure, but I believe it is. Yes, we are.
Yeah, that was always the thing for regular expedition encounters anyway, right?
But like, obviously, you don't want that in a grand expedition because you're just like, well, okay, I'll get 1% of the island, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, for the regular ones, it should be there.
Yeah, awesome.
But
cool.
if it's
So what
not,
Ziggy's asking for is how people used to farm Expedition is instead of getting 5 or 6 little explosions, you just get one big explosion, plant your fuse down, the mobs all come out with all the mods at the same time, you blow them up and you keep it pushing. Which seems like still the optimal way to farm Expedition in your maps, and that's why he's asking, just for some context.
Like there's also a sort of hidden amount of work that we sort of glossed over there as well in all of the like logbook islands, like what used to be called logbooks, but now the Grand Expedition Islands.
Yeah.
Like we put a lot of effort into like making a bunch of unique islands with weird shit. Like like every one of them has got like unique things to fight and blow up that like are kind of weird.
So it's not just a bunch of generic maps with expeditions in it.
Yeah. They're actually got a lot of effort put into them in terms of every one of them has 2 to 3 things that only spawn there.
Okay, so they're talking about the actual explodables when you hit the fuse, essentially dynamite. Each specific map's going to have 2 or 3 things only particular to that map. It's not some generic outlay that you run through every time with some generic AI randomization. There's actually some thought put behind it, which is interesting, right? Like when you go to do these expedition logbooks on these big islands. And I think that'll be interesting to see what's good, what's not so good. What areas are you going to start hunting for if you're doing expedition logbooks?
You know, that are interesting. So yeah, there's quite a bit there too. Like it's kind of like we didn't want to spoil too many of them because it's quite fun, like finding out, oh, maybe this will explode, maybe that'll explode. There's like things like that you can do, but yeah, it's quite a fun one.
There's even like there's like special logbooks you can find. Now that a logbook is just you click it to reveal a section of the ocean.
Yeah.
We have one that you can get that you can turn on, and then when you click, it's all of the islands revealed have extra modifiers on them, like expedition themed modifiers, so like more explosives, more radius, and a whole bunch of stuff like that you can get in late game.
Yeah, I guess kind of somewhat filling the role of how towers work in the rest of the Atlas as well, but for the islands, like
but
an AoE craft of maps.
Well, but then you also have ones that reveal like guarantee. Olroth will be there, for example. So it's like a little bit, which is a way to trade for like then getting Olroth kills.
Spicy,
of course.
Nice. And
you can always, of course, just trade for like the pinnacle boss keys themselves.
Anyway,
so,
yes,
yeah. But
he's not the fake pinnacle anymore.
Right.
And you are actually using regular Waystone, so you can kind of juice up the expedition maps, the grand expedition
Exactly.
maps now.
Yes, you can.
Potentially quite a bit. That's pretty juicy. It seems. I think you kind of mentioned, Jonathan, that it feels a little bit like Delve in some ways.
Yeah, it is a little bit. So the Exploring Ocean is sort of supposed to feel that way because it's one of those like sort of infinite expanses that you can go down.
Delve
but,
ocean.
Yeah.
Delve sideways.
I still want to make proper Delve one day, but at least we've got this.
You also don't have to
Interesting.
run
So an
around
interesting
the
thing
islands reading all those-
that Jonathan says there is they want to make proper Delve in the game. For those of you that don't know, Delve is a Path of Exiles 1 content, where essentially you follow a minecart endlessly down into the crust of the earth. Like you just endlessly just bore down and down this mine shaft essentially, and go thousands and thousands and thousands of floors down.
giant blocks of text anymore, hoping to not get some.
Oh, you remind me actually. So with the runes, is there modifiers like immune to fire damage and can't leech from them and stuff like that? They're just gone.
So an interesting thing they just point out here is the things that would brick your build from being able to complete the content, such as immunities, cannot leech, all those different things are gone off the mod pool for Expedition, which makes Expedition a lot more likable. What makes the Expedition not likable is you're missing rewards because you don't want to run stuff that breaks your build, so that it takes away your ability to not complete it. But if you complete it and you avoid the mod, you're not actually getting the rewards you're trying to achieve. And it's just kind of made like an ugly little workaround or ugly way for that to work, and it just left a bad taste in people's mouths when your build would get bricked for trying to go for rewards that you wanted.
More traditional modifiers, and then there's a set at the top. Like there's one called Power Rune, which is the rarest. It takes every mod and makes it tier 2. So there's some meta-y ones, and then there's the ones we showed, and there's one that causes all monsters spawned by the Remnant to share a life pool. So. Which is actually crazy and also very satisfying.
That kind of sounds fun, yeah.
The funny thing about this is that if it had been a normal live stream where we were just doing a league, like so much more of the stuff we probably would have delved into.
Yeah,
but instead, because we had so much in-game stuff as like other things as well.
You're doing like 5 leagues.
Yeah, exactly.
So you really show any of it.
Yeah, this is like the league of what they said, the league of 5 leagues. We're getting 5 leagues in one content patch. Like, so I want you guys to understand the amount of stuff we're going to be able to do is just going to be endless as a group. So crazy.
Yeah. There's tons of like hidden stuff.
It's like, I can't believe you glazed over this thing where like a rune steals a unique mod.
Hey, Ray 19, welcome back in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh yeah, we didn't have time. We had to cut it for time.
Well, I mean, another one of those we cut for time was the ability to upgrade runes. There's a thing that will upgrade a rune that's already in your in your gear.
Yeah, you can get like a perfect.
So you get a perfect rune of any rune can be upgraded past the normal level that it could normally go to using one of those. Like it's called the Masterwork rune.
Rub your runes.
So there's some of that as well. Like, there's all sorts of stuff.
Which you can then do incursion, extract, and trade. By the way, just to be clear.
Yeah. Because there's the incursion room lets you extract stuff.
That thing.
Yeah, so you can actually trade those as the upgraded ones if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah. And you've got another category of ones that absolutely can't be removed, and I assume not with that either.
Yeah. Like, so that's like the dual socket thing and stuff like that.
It's almost like vialing an item that's done.
Yeah.
This is where you're going to get the weird economy where the upgrader item is for some reason cheaper or something than the rune that's taken out of there'll be some weird someone's extracted a perfect rune because that's like a abnormal thing you gotta do incursion, and the upgraded item is like for some reason gonna have a weird price differential to the rune. It's always
It's gonna be a wild economy. I mean, not to mention just like
Yeah.
100 new runes in general. That's kind of like rather.
This
a lot,
economy
isn't
is
it?
going to be
It's-
so specialized in what
It's
you're
really
trying to do in a build. So
160.
many things are going to have value.
1690s.
But it is the runes of Elder, like, you know.
That's right.
If
I
we didn't have some runes in it, it would,
exactly.
yeah, it'd just be Elder League otherwise.
And that's
Crazy work.
That's not even all. Like, there's the alloy crafting too, which is like
Yeah.
we're gonna make a version of their essence crafting because, of course, you do,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. So, do you view this league just as like it was a crafting focused league from the outset? That was
I mean,
always the goal?
we knew. I mean, the Veracium stuff, like they're known as like a whole culture of blacksmiths and
Yeah.
like doing stuff, right? So they're gonna,
sense.
yeah, they're gonna do some crafting.
Do you think
This
there
is
is like too much
interesting.
for crafting options, or is there some way that this is like kind of segmenting out that makes it feel like it's still manageable?
Well, I'd like to think it's manageable. Honestly, I find the rune stuff. I mean, you can always add more socketable type things like this because every time you find one, it's like it's just a thing in itself. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why we steered away from like too many crafting bench type things. We've got like mega lists.
Yeah.
It's like it's honestly way cooler to find an item and then like, okay, now this is a physical thing that I've got. So yeah, like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you'll notice the Veracium Metallurgy one we have, the rune smithing, rune forging, whatever the names we ended up going with, it's just, here's your input, here's your output.
Exactly.
That's it.
So that one can be simple. You don't need to have the giant. And I think that the giant lists are part of what scare people off from crafting as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think doing it the way we've done it here is honestly more new player friendly than the kind of than the giant list you feel like you need to understand when you see it.
Yeah.
But of course, as these things go core, we'll see what works, we'll see what doesn't
Yeah.
work, we'll see what worked in endgame and didn't, because again, once the things are core, how they appear in the campaign, you don't know. Maybe these things work really well in the campaign and need to be pulled into a system that's more campaign friendly without having to have remnants in every area and stuff like that. So it's always nice to keep an eye on that and see what works, what's good for onboarding, what's good for campaign progression, what's all of that kind of stuff. I mean, honestly, all of this stuff, if you're using it all, you're going to be significantly more powerful in the campaign. We have a bunch of, those kind of purple runes, those powerful runes appearing throughout the campaign that you can get from the remnants as well, and like they do.
I don't know, was that even in the live stream? The purple.
Some of them were, I think,
Okay.
but like there's the rune for bows that gives you 50% chance for an additional arrow, and like that, it's not like that's end game. That's just at early. Now, of course, you're going to get the thing of like, do I want to use it early or do I want to save it till late? Because it depends on how many you get and all of that. But like, the power is there if you need to use it and if you want to use it. So it's kind of up to you. And if they're abundant enough, go free. And
But to go back to your original question as well, we do sort of want to make sure that each of the crafting systems does like have specific domains most of the time.
Yeah.
So in the case of the breach one again, that's about jewelry crafting if you're into like these specific things, and in particular you've got the caster and minion stuff as well.
Yeah.
So you're kind of looking at that and you're like, okay, like if I need to cast create some minion jewelry, then like this is the league I'm playing. But then if I'm not having to create that, then I don't have to necessarily understand that one. So we do try to we're trying to make sure that it's not like for every single item slot or every single use case you have to know about every crafting system. Like there are specific ones that can help with specific areas.
Yeah, okay. And you can look into that. And that does divide it down a little bit more.
Yeah,
Just make it a bit more
that's kind of the
digestible
intention.
chunks.
This was actually one of those things we discussed way back in the early days of PoE 2 about how we would differentiate crafting from PoE 1. Is like try to have a little bit more segregation of the different crafting systems and different item slots.
Yeah, exactly. So you've also got this other crafting system in this because we're not finished through that list yet. So you can use rune forging to upgrade items, including unique items, to increase their base damage, or give maybe some armors new rolls with ward and things like that as well. This is like another route to modifying uniques, which you've been doing a little experimenting a bit more with over time. And this has an ability to change affixes on uniques as well, right?
Correct.
So
the changing affixes part, I believe, is mostly the Kalguran uniques where it does that.
Interesting.
Is that not correct?
Can you tell what is a Kalguran unique?
we are going to add a way for you to tell what's Ezomite Kalguran, because Val for the other one as well.
For the weapons, it's mostly about increasing the base damage to make it so that a low level unique can actually be something you can use in endgame. Because there's obviously a lot of uniques there that are interesting, but not viable for endgame because they just don't have the damage. So that's kind of like one of the main things we're solving. And then for the armors, it's all about like being able to make that ward versus other defense trade off.
Oh, and Squirrel Thought. So they're talking about you being able to upgrade weapon damage types, right? So when you look at like Pillar of the Cage Gods, it's a monk staff that does like 1 to 12 damage. If I could upgrade that sucker to like 400 damage and then get free benefit off of my attribute statting that I was already providing in attack speed and extra added damage, all the different stuff it did, that could be the most crazy unique ever. But I think what they're describing here is that they had only picked certain unique types that were Calgarian that could get that so that you didn't have that overlap going on. That's an interesting thing to look at of what items are actually eligible to receive these base damage upgrades, right? And that'll be interesting to see what you can do with it.
As well.
For the Calgarian uniques, what we've tried to do is have that, because most of the Calgarian uniques are in-game, right? That's just, drops from Olroth, drops from the new Pinnacle, a few others. And we've tried to have multiple outcomes for them, and you don't get to pick. So, for example, there's a new shield being added, and it is a strength dex shield, so armor evasion, and it comes with raised shield, and it has some mechanics around that. In the Verisium bench, you can put it in, you can craft, and it can turn into a full ES base, a full evasion base with parry, or a full strength base with raised shield. So you can, if you want to get away from it being hybrid, and like that's just one example. Now you might have to get a few of them to get the one you want. Deal with it. But for all of them, that's kind of the idea. Is like some are just mods, some are a bit more transformative. There's just like, okay, there's a weapon, and one of the outcomes might be that it's just higher damage, slower speed. One of it might be that converts all of its damage to lightning, like it's got a Tempest theme. One of it might be that, there's like just a whole bunch of different stuff like that, and like some of them are a bit more niche, some of them are a bit more spike. But the idea is that we're going to try and aim for 3 different outcomes for every Calgarian unique. There are some other niche cases. I don't want to like spoil them because by the way, there's more crafting things. I'm just not going to tell you because they're secret.
Play the game and find out, right? Like, I think that's part of it is where this is a reveal. It's not like in-depth explaining the entire patch. So I get that. That's interesting that he touched on you could also upgrade shields. So can you upgrade all offhands? Can you upgrade all Calgarian uniques no matter the type? Or is it just limited to weapons and offhands? So I'd be interested to see what we can do there.
Okay.
I'm getting all my secrets in. But I hope people can find them out and enjoy it. But yes, there are some other things as well that are a bit more out there. One that isn't so secret, but like there's the questions of like what happens if you try and add runic ward to something that has no defenses to begin with. Tabula rasa. Like there's like weird things where it's like, what happens when you convert nothing into something? I don't know, so
Divide by 0.
and then there's some other weird cases as well. So yeah.
Interesting. Well, there's going to be a lot of exploration and tinkering, and it seems like a long tail of discovery for this league as well.
Yeah.
Months in, people might be still discovering stuff. So that's it's pretty exciting to hear.
Yeah, everything we've known about Path of Exiles 2 for the past 15 months means absolutely dog poopy. Like it's met every single patch. This is all just a brand new game to us again, and we're just in Rayclast, which is like crazy. Like there's some stuff that's the same that we've experienced. A few core things haven't changed, but like in-game's just entirely different now. It's not just doing the one single piece of content to make your currency. There's so much going on here, it's almost overwhelming. It's like they're trying to fast forward what PoE 2 is into what PoE 1 is right now, which is like crazy town.
With the uniques in general, like I think this crafting, the ability to modify uniques, change how they work a little bit, has been pretty popular. Do you feel like, are you worried at all about like losing the identity of uniques, or what makes them unique, or what is the feel of a unique, or do you have kind of like an idea of how you can maintain them?
I think that it'll be possible to break that, but I don't think that we have here, because at the end of the day, the uniques are still like each serving a specific purpose, and that is different from rares and how they work. So I think it is okay. Like what I wouldn't want to do is just be like, oh, now a bunch of rare mods can spawn on uniques. Like I'm not a fan of that at all.
Yeah.
So as long as we're not doing
It's interesting that they said that. I don't want a bunch of rare mods spawning onto uniques, but they are going to allow you to take unique mods and put them back onto rares in the form of like socketables, which is like an interesting philosophy to go about for it. You're kind of like toting this weird line of how you define your
That,
items.
I think it's okay. I mean, look, we do push the boundaries. Even just the fact that uniques have socketables that go in them kind of changes things a bit. But I think a lot of the time when you do that, you're not really looking at that as like the unique has got random mods. It sort of feels more like it's just an extra place for things to go in your character. So I think it still works in terms of the flavor of what a unique is supposed to be.
Yeah, it feels like a separate layer. Yeah, I guess a lot of the time you are changing one unique modifier for another unique modifier.
I don't agree with like what they're talking about. So when literally 10 minutes ago they're saying you can take, and I'm going to hit on this again, a unique modifier and put it onto another piece, but this is a separate layer from what that item does. But if you find the right synchronization, it's not just a separate layer, it's a combined layer with some of the stuff they're adding in. And so you're kind of flirting with that line of, is it a conjoined working piece or is it just a separate part of the gear? And it's just interesting to see them come about that. Also, I'm excited to go farm voices and lose my money gambling, so we'll be gambling voices this season, everybody.
Modifier that's like a twist on the original concept, so it still retains that.
Hi, puppy.
A lot of there as well. So,
Fluffy. Are you sniffing my notebook,
I didn't
goofball?
ask about the Runic Ward thing. So the Runic Ward obviously has gone a bit of a redesign, a bit of a concept change here. It's now a layer under your life. How did you arrive at this design? Kind of what's the reason for it?
Well, once again, we were thinking, okay, we want to be able to make a magic system that feels like it's fundamentally different than what you'd have on Rayclast. We were trying to think like, okay...
no, mister.
How do I say this? So, I feel like I've lost myself here. But, like, I guess it is really just coming, something that feels a little bit different. And we wanted to make colorless skills, right? We wanted to make a thing where these skills can be used across classes, so all of those skills we want to be used. But, we didn't really feel like we would be able to use an energy system that wasn't independent of the existing ones that we had.
Right, yeah.
And so then we were like, okay, if we make something here where you get to be able to trade some level of defensiveness for offense, because you're spending effectively part of your life pool, then we'd be able to make a system there. But we probably couldn't have used life, because if we'd done that, there's so many other things that like are going on with life that wouldn't have really been able to, that wouldn't have been able to work. So hence, ward. I mean, it's just a completely different thing than what ward was in PoE 1. We just sort of used the term, but it means something completely different in PoE 2.
I think it's just a significant upgrade from PoE 1's, just like kind of one-shot energy shield. I mean, that was like hard carried by uniques. Whereas this is a way more, just applicable system. You can just have a little bit of it, and you're just happy to have a little bit of extra life. Effectively, works way better in the campaign. Works just as more of as a isolated system, and doesn't need to have
all over my
here's
hands.
now 4 unique mechanics, and now my ward is a build, which is fine. If it's all in-game, that's fine, but like you were talking about having something in the campaign here, a full league and a system we want to engage with and get some, borrowed power out of via these skills and whatnot, and so, it just works a lot better.
One thing
ward system, big
upgrade. In
upgrade.
the early base types, it's usually strict upgrades. Like if you're early in the campaign, you're not trading off anything; you just get extra bonuses. But as you get into the end game, that's where those bases start to be like, okay, in order to have more ward, we're going to be trading off your other defenses, and that means that when we finally do potentially move it into core, it's going to be like it'll be a question of like, do I want to go for? Like, it's not going to be something mandatory, because if it had just been always additive, it would have been that every single person needs to put ward on every single base type, and we don't want it to be that way in the end game. We want it to be once it gets there, it's like a choice of like, do I want to engage with this? Do I not want to? So that was kind of an important consideration there at the end.
We've actually also handcrafted every outcome. So every single, generally how you would expect this kind of thing to be done. Here's the formula. It converts. Right. We've just gone and said, let's do it manually for everything, which means it was a metric amount of metadata to add.
Every base type we add has to have the ward, the rune-crafted, rune-forged version.
At endgame, you get some cool stuff where base type A might become very, very heavy on Runic Ward, where base type B might have just a little bit, and some are in the middle, and some sacrifice a bit more defense where others don't, and then the same with the uniques. You're getting like crazy different outcomes where it's a similar thing. Where it's like, you know, what is Calm's Heart going to do? What's Brass Dome going to do? There's like different kind of things that people are going to play around with, and it's like, is it worth it? And the good thing is you can of course see the outcome before you do it with,
you can?
with these non-random ones on armors.
I didn't realize that.
When you have both the slots, if you mouse over the right one, it will show what you're going to get, except for like those Calgaren unique outcomes, like I said. So that's a bit more special. But most of the time, yeah, you can see what you're going to get. So if you're just like, oh, no, I don't want to lose that armor, then don't lose that armor. Just, you know. So,
Interesting.
But yeah,
That's a good note that you're not going into it blind and gambling.
You get some people that just have a supplemental amount just to stack, maybe just enough to use a skill or just enough to use a support. And you'll get people who are just trying to spam the skills as much as they possibly can. You'll have some people that have low amounts stacking higher regen of it, and like all kinds of stuff is the goal. All done via, you know, the metallurgy, the runes, you know, different skills, like the whole suite is there. So there's just all kinds of stuff you can do.
Yeah, and on the topic of the Calgaren skills, this is like, especially because this is like something that gets asked all the time, is like, oh, can we have more weapon agnostic skills? Things that kind of like blur those boundaries a little bit now that you've got those established. What's the design process or the goal, or how you're approaching?
So it's a little bit tricky because, yeah, we have to make sure that these things are going to be things that can be used across classes. Like, I don't want to just be like, okay, this one's only for like, you know, one particular character, and it needs to kind of span them, and that means they tend to need to work with things like existing debuffs and existing buffs. We've got one that generates they've got various things that like that just play with all of those different mechanics. So you know, like the example we gave in the presentation of like converting fire to frost fire, like that kind of thing. Like there's a lot of different builds, a lot of different character classes that be able to play with that. Ideally, that means that it can just open up the different. Different ways to be able to synergize between different mechanics all over the place. And then, because they spend ward rather than some other resource, it means that, you know, there's no issue there either.
Yeah, potentially slot into any build and don't have attribute requirements or colors.
That's the other thing, of course. Yeah, they don't have strength, dex, and attribute requirements. They just have level requirements. So that way, you know.
Yeah, the Calgarans are a little bit more ahead of Ray class times, it seems. Well.
There's a bit more of a technological magic, isn't it?
It's cool that it's often the case when we add these things that can feel a bit shallow. Like it can feel like, here's this whole new magic system, but only there's this little amount. Whereas here, I feel like we've actually gone, here's this whole magic system, like here's a taste of it, and like in some cases, like sure, 25 skills now, we'll see what happens later, you know, and like there's things to expand on, unless they're of course terrible, in which case they never existed, you know what I mean? But I mean for the long term.
I appreciate his sense of humor, makes it kind of fun.
You get this thing where it's like, it really feels like, with respect to the Calgaran magic, the Calgaran technology, we're just like getting further and further and really learning more and more about how these people gain their power, how it's different from everything you know on Rayclast, and like it's honestly been just quite cool. And like Runic Ward, as I said, it feels way more than just like, it feels pretty core. Like it doesn't feel like this like just secondary thing. Not that you have to do it, it's not mandatory, but it feels core when you do engage with it, which is very cool. And I wouldn't say we've gone this deep into like a extra resource system and thing like in any league ever before, not in this regard. So
yeah, it's like usually just like some map thing, you collect petals or something. Seems a bit more engaging than that, a bit more fundamental character builds. Okay. Well, it seems like that's something you would probably want to keep long term then as well, like as long as it works.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, then we will.
Yeah, if people like it ultimately. Since we're talking a lot about gear, just kind of zooming out to a bit broader picture, some outstanding issues from our last meeting. If I consult the minutes here, plus skills is often brought up as something that's has a very high level of impact on your gearing choices and can feel for some, I think, a bit restrictive, as just because it's so much stronger than other options.
We did have a big conversation about that. I can't remember what we finally decided on there.
Yeah, it's one of those dexterity-like conversations. I think we are trimming a few levels off the top.
Yeah, that's right.
Or more so, we're trimming some off the top and moving some of it up so that there's still a high-level mod. But doing that for the weapon mods. But like, there's more to do here, for sure. I would say that given the like this league in particular, like I remember we started it and we were like, here's all the things that we've discussed we need to fix, we need to do all this. And then it was like, oh, and here's the like 8,000 other balance runes and crafting systems and everything we want to do and new classes. And it was like, new versus existing having a bit of a conflict. And we were, so I wouldn't say we got to do as much of the balance fix up to a lot of the stuff we've discussed previous that we wanted to do here. But as you were talking about at the start of the Q&A, like that is, and what Jonathan said is that is a lot of what we want to do, you know, while we have the team making the acts.
Yeah.
Like that's a different kind of balance. We don't have, you know, you're not adding runes and crafting systems to the acts in the same way,
Which
right?
means that those designers
it's
are
a
freed
different
up
team. Yeah, so
freed up to be able to work on all of those kinds of larger balance
You
concerns.
can pretty much do some balance leagues between
We
now
do,
and-
yeah, exactly. And we do have a big list of stuff we want to change there. Like, there's a lot.
it is a list.
Which isn't to say that we didn't do some balance for this
I
one.
expected you to do almost none on this one, given the scope.
No,
of
there's
what you're
definitely
wanting
some.
to do.
There's
You actually
some
have done a few,
important ones too.
Yeah.
which we'll cover a few of those.
Got
yeah.
like, you know, some Chronomancer stuff. There's a whole, we're doing a bunch of stuff, but honestly, it honestly just is as much as we can, to be honest. Like, you know, we're not sitting idly not doing it, but yeah, like, I understand that there's a few things.
Yeah, one thing he talks about there is like we have just a essentially overflowing list of stuff that we're working on, and we did as much as we could in essentially 4 months. And like I could respect that after seeing what they did for reveal, where they're overhauling major parts of the end game, right? They're adding in 2 new ascendancy classes. They're giving you new uniques. There's whole new crafting systems. There's whole new way to do almost everything in the game at an in-game level, while also making it feel good during campaign. So like they did do a lot in a very short amount of time. So like as much as we're harping on stuff, it's fun to see the development as we go. And that's kind of part of the journey that's made PoE 2 so fun.
Which I assume you're going to bring up a couple others that are left unresolved, and
Certainly.
hopefully maybe one of them's resolved. We'll see.
Well, the next one was Rarity, reprising our earlier discussions on Rarity from the last Q&A, where you were saying that you were eager to at some point remove Rarity from the game.
I am interested in doing that. It's still a question of what we can replace it with, but there is one other change to talk about around that is a bit more subtle, and I don't know whether it will matter or not. But one of the things we identified, I mean, look, the thing people often say with Rarity is they just don't want it to give currency.
Yeah.
That's like a common thing that they'll say. Like people who say they want to keep Rarity, they'll often say, "Oh, but it should. You could just remove the currency from it, and then it'll be okay." So what we were thinking about is like, there's this sort of market dynamic that goes on in PoE 1, but hadn't been going on in PoE 2 so much, where people couldn't really respond in PoE 2 to the market by like picking the reward type that they would like to get as much.
Yeah.
So in PoE 1, it's like if currency is becoming more valuable, you can respond to that by farming leagues that give you more currency. And if uniques are becoming like more valuable, then you can respond to that by farming more uniques and that kind of stuff. So there was like a little bit of an aim here to make it so that the league's a little bit more like by picking what league you're also picking more of what types of rewards you want to get a little bit better, which can mean that like if there's a gap in the market, you can fill it that way, and that should result in like more price. We're getting total economist here right now, but it'll mean that people can respond to the price signals that the market is giving them by farming the correct thing to like get the thing that like the market is valuing more right now.
So we're actually seeing that phenomenal difference between the two games on like the economic statistic level.
Well, I think it's not so much looking at the statistics, but just realizing that like without the ability for players to do that, it can mean that you can get endless inflation in one thing because people aren't able to respond to that by effectively getting more of that thing to drive the prices down again. So that kind of stuff actually can matter. And so one of the things we have been doing is making it so that here's a league you can farm more to get more of this thing. And like even with regard to something like Breach, because you can pick there's mods for picking what type of womb gift is going to drop more often. You can be like, okay, if currency is more valuable right now, I'm going to pick that one. That's the I'm going to have that tree be the one that I'm getting more of, and that kind of stuff. So it's like giving a little bit more control over what the rewards are, which should actually lead to a bit more price stabilization.
I like that a lot.
Here as well. But
Interesting.
we'll see how that
Bubs.
works. Like I don't know whether that's actually one of the things, but it does seem related to the fact that in PoE 2, since Rarity effectively boosts everything, it meant that that mechanic wasn't letting it be one of the levers that people could use to respond to the market that way.
Yeah, exactly. You were just going to do it because it was clear.
Sorry guys for turning into an economist all of a sudden, but it's like
I like it. It's
it's one of those things.
I think it's just ignoring the whole economy aspect. It just gives players agency to target what type of loot they want anyway, right?
Yeah,
How is that not just straight up better for like, here's what I need, here's what I want, I'm going to go get it, and here's the different levers I have to be able to achieve that, be it via choosing a different league, be it by choosing different multi-choice atlas tree things within that league, be it by picking a certain master and taking a certain you know, Atlas Master Skill that changes the rewards of one of the leagues. Like, there's many different axes here, which is very, very cool to just be like, all right, we're going to try and get the best
that makes
out of
more
the
sense
uniques
for the
today,
master
or I'm gonna
system.
try and target farm this or that, and like it's just a win, even if you're just like, I don't care about inflation and all of the trade and all of that. Like, it's just good. So win-win on that regard. Hopefully, assuming
But
the
in
economy
saying that
adapts.
doesn't necessarily mean that we're like happy with how you know, item find stuff is. Like, there still might be changes.
Yeah, correct.
Well, it sounds like you're still eager to replace that.
Yeah, I am.
Given that you can find the
it's one of those things that's surprisingly hard, you know, alongside Leech, alongside Dex and various other things like the forever topics that always seem to come back and to haunt us every time.
Yes, keep you awake at night. Since we're talking economy and inflation, is that something you guys are kind of like interested in looking at in some way, like sinks for exalts or divines, or kind of managing that sort of stuff, or you just kind of like see what happens?
This is a weird one because some of the perceptions that people have about like what each thing means can be backwards from what people expect. But yeah, I do think that that's gonna come down to that sort of ability for people to respond to the market. I think that's going to help. But as I said, we'll see. If it doesn't help with that stuff, then we'll revisit it and see what
More
happens.
sinks for exalts is an inevitability for sure. It will occur at some. It just kind of has to. Sinks for divines. I don't know, find Mage Blood, see what happens.
I was like, you have something in the works for that one. I know you do.
Good luck.
Yeah, wait and see with that. On the topic of crafting, are there with all this new stuff, are there any changes to like the existing stuff of crafting, like how the crafting systems work, the currencies work? How happy have you been with the introduction of Greater and Perfect orbs?
I would just say that Greater and Perfect are too, especially Perfect is just too common. Like, we're probably going to have to nerf the drop rates of those.
Transmutes and orgs. Yeah.
And because effectively it's sort of being a problem in that kind of early in the end game crafting is like probably a little bit too easy. So we'll probably nerf the drop rates of some of that stuff a little bit. I think it's probably just a little bit too far. Like, not to make them like impossible.
Mostly transmutes and augments.
Mostly transmutes and augments. So it was just making it a little bit too easy.
Yeah.
So
I guess the outcome of that is that they become the norm like immediately, right?
Sure. So there'll probably be a change there. But yeah, like I think that it was just making it a little bit too easy to progress in that early end game part there.
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to hit you with, I usually do this at the end, but right now, a surprise QOL UX round. So you've got this in-game build planner, which is an awesome addition. Very excited and kind of surprised that you did that as well. It's a huge leap over what you tested in the past. That kind of went away for a while, which was like the ability to plan passives.
Yeah.
So I guess that was the reason why that went away, since you had a bigger project in mind. I'm curious, when you take a different angle on this, what don't you want to do with this? Like, where is the line of where you don't want this to do? Because this is something that helps like players a lot. It's very in-game. It's,
right. Well, some people have asked us, like, you know, are you going to suggest builds? Like, is GGG going to be like, here's some builds to play and that kind of thing? And I don't want to be doing that. I do want to leave it to the community to decide what is that stuff. So that means we're not going to be like, what I don't want it to be is like, okay, you like join the game for the first time and the game's like, pick a build, you know? Like, that isn't how it should work. Like, it needs to be that that most, look, I know that a lot of players wanted to follow build guides, and that's absolutely fine. We want to give as good of tools as we can for that. But at the same time, like, I still want the desirable theory of the game to be that you join the game having never played it before and you just explore and find the stuff that's interesting. So, you know, but then, like, if you're already going to a website to find a build guide, then at the point you've done that, like, we might as well make that as easy as possible for you to do and follow and all that sort of thing. So
we've actually made sure to keep it hidden unless you know to do it.
So unless you basically
you don't open your passive tree and it's like load files and you're like, what the heck is going on here?
Now, I should mention that we didn't put it in the live stream because we weren't like 100% sure that it would be there, but it is being worked on right now that there's going to be like a one-click solution for getting a build from a community website, right? So the idea is, like, you know, a community website can put a link, and when you click the link, it'll just add it to your account.
Like with filters, like what?
Yeah, exactly like with filters.
That was kind of fun. Is that everything? Oh gosh, this is long, isn't it?
Yep.
And you get more of it, you get more. Like,
For most people,
so turning into an economist all of a
sudden. Right now, a surprise
filter creator. because they could just hide mirrors. So hopefully,
So
hopefully your
everyone
build
gravitates to
creator,
noticing because he's the
hopefully your
guy,
build
we trust
creators.
him, right?
Yeah.
So April 1st, your build creator just completely just changes your build randomly for a day.
But the documentation for how to do the build file should be going up today-ish, and that means that what I'd expect to happen, although obviously it's up to them, like the various community projects like Path of Building and that kind of stuff, to all like adopt that and make it so that you can so that you can export a build from those tools, and then then the creators can create websites showing those off and that kind of thing, and like that kind of stuff is what we'd expect to.
Yeah, it just improves the actual like physical act of like having a build guide and implementing that and using it for people who are. That's awesome.
And if we also find that like build creators are interested in adding notes to more places, like we tried to get everything we could think of, but there might be places where you like because the idea is like anywhere where a creator wants to be able to say like here's some more tutorialization that they want to add.
Yeah.
The idea is that they can kind of do that.
I love that.
Like that's the sort of
I can tell people to upgrade their life flasks for life flasks that heal more life. Than the
for
previous
sure,
ones.
exactly like the example we had in the video.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's very true. People overlook it.
Yeah.
So another one from our outstanding minutes is the mouse and keyboard and controller hot swap.
I know, and it's becoming a running joke at this point of like people promising it every league and then not delivering it. And the annoying thing about it is that it's one of those things that like someone will work on it for like there's a surprising amount of code to do to change it, but then every time it's like the guy like someone will work on it for like a month or something, and they'll be like, oh shit, we've got this urgent league UI that needs doing, and then they get derailed. But I promise this time is the time that we will get it for 1.0.
I took him for the fragment tab. Sorry.
Yeah, it is actually legitimately.
Also not
it legitimately
sorry.
was.
But not sorry because the fragment tab's kind of I want it and I need it.
Yeah, but it's just like I think there was a bingo card that you saw where you're like, so many people want this.
Yeah.
Fragment.
So, look, fragment
So
tab.
you can actually blame the bingo card makers.
Yeah, I guess so.
Hot swapping was on there too. I had my hand over it. I was like, look, they want the fragment tab.
See.
Really what I mean is I want the fragment tab.
Another one that I haven't mentioned before, but revisiting is visibility issues. So skills, I think, are being designed to look as cool as possible under normal circumstances a lot of the time. Like the artist, I imagine, is working on them in that situation. But then they can become extreme on endgame builds, right? You're adding like 10 extra projectiles and screen size AoE scaling and attack speed. So I think like a good example is Explosive Grenade. Phenomenal looking skill, immensely satisfying. Sounds, visuals, but now we've got like grenade nova projectiles with totems firing out multiple of them at rapid
it can
pace.
get pretty extreme. It can get pretty extreme.
You got to put your sunnies on, man.
I know.
It's funny when I'm streaming, you can see the face just light up whenever you toss a grenade.
It's one of those things where, like, over time, ideally, we're able to just improve the situation with regard to effects. I mean, we do have some systems for limiting this kind of stuff, like to prevent certain particles from spawning.
I was wondering if like some sort of dynamic culling effect.
We do have stuff like that, but it's one of those things that it's easy for it to get left till the end and then not done, because the effects artists are obviously optimizing for what looks good. And whenever you're if effects artists come to me and like, hey, what do you think of the skill? It's not I tend not to be like, okay, now let's see it when there's like a bajillion of them, that's one of those steps we should probably take at some point. But it's like we do have systems for it. It's just a matter of like spending time working on it, and it's the kind of thing that just over time will slowly
It
improve.
honestly is a time problem.
Yeah,
like we do, it gets tested internally. It does get reported. There are issues, tasks that are made, and they say, help my frame rate, help my eyes. It does say that, and 100%. And then it's like, I could optimize this. I don't quite know how, and a few people have to collaborate to do it.
We definitely do fix the worst cases, like when they're really, really bad. We do. But before you see them, ideally. But there can also just be cases where it's like we didn't realize that a build would be created that could get to this level of insane.
Well, yeah, when explosive grenades were added, there wasn't a way to do all of this
exactly.
stuff.
So
but
then,
like,
3 leagues later.
Sometimes it
A lot
is
to
the
think about
balance
when you're
that's the
making a
problem,
game.
right? And then so that can be a bit tricky when it's like, how do you know? Is this an engine task, an art task? Is it a balance task? And
that's the funny thing about it as well, because all of those sorts of issues have to actually go to a game designer, because they're the ones who can decide, like, is this even acceptable in the first place? And that's like a sort of a very tricky thing. So like we did do some nerfs in 040, I believe, to some of the grenade spam stuff that you could do. But then I believe there were some other mechanics added that kind of made it come back again. So
Yeah, it was. It was like slight nerf and then way more.
No, they're running a juggernaut of a company, so that's another hard thing to affect actionable
Just
change.
to reiterate, because in the past we'd asked about the idea of like transparency sliders or brightness sliders. And
I'm not a fan, honestly. Like, I think it does fundamentally kind of ruin something there that I'm not, you know.
So that's like
I want to try and fix it so that you don't even have to think about it. That it's not a setting you need to do. It's not anything like that.
You want to take the hard route on that, which
for sure.
is,
always, every time.
Yeah.
The hard route. That's the best route.
The last one I have, maybe, unless there's some extra chat ones in there, is you guys looking to get full Steam Deck verified sometime soon?
Yes. Well, I was telling you about that earlier. So this is a there were a few things around the UI that made it so we couldn't get Steam Deck verified, like UI size. So we've actually added a lot of options for UI scaling in like different areas now. So pretty much everything, like like hovers versus like all these different areas are now scalable. All the different parts of the UI, and that means we can now have defaults for Steam Deck that we can now go, okay, hey Valve, can you Steam Deck verify us, please, and get all that stuff. And we're sort of testing on the Steam Deck now. Like we have Steam Deck stuff internally.
Dude, Steam Deck could be so good for this.
People want to be able to play it on the deck. So it is now a thing that we're doing. I really want to make sure that by launch especially that it's like a perfect experience. Awesome. There's still some performance issues at the end game on Steam Deck, like it's still not quite there that we need to work on. But during campaign it's fine. But
I'm not going to play grenades on Steam Deck.
So there's like a few things there we still need to do to improve. But in terms of like the experience of like the main experience and all that stuff, it's way better now.
Great news. Excellent. I keep seeing in chat, so I'm just going to ask it. But like, people are asking, like, tell me about Mageblood, but like, quite clearly,
we're not going to tell you about Mageblood.
Yes,
you have to find Mageblood.
You want people to find Mageblood. I mean, you did drop some extra hints there, kind of subtly. But people can maybe you can rewatch the Q&A and kind of like find out what those hints were.
I know how to tease a unique.
I mean, this is like, outside of a headhunter or something. This is like one of the most like chase long-awaited items.
And the tricky thing is making sure that people actually like it as well, because we don't want to disappoint people.
Yes,
that would be sad.
It's going to be insane, though. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. When we're filming the trailer, you make sure that Mageblood's on the screen for a second. You put that text there.
There's one frame of Mageblood.
But it's so rare. I'm like, I don't care. Do it.
Excellent. There's one for you to look forward
that's
to.
so fun.
Before we jump into the end game, let's talk a little bit about campaign leveling. So this is a pretty nice sign.
So we get Mageblood, boys, confirmed.
Yeah. In one case, completely literally a signpost.
Literally a signpost.
It's one of those things that I like. So we do understand that if you're a repeated playthrough, like it needs to be that it can be efficient. Mm-hmm. We were thinking about like what is better in PoE 1 than PoE 2 in this respect, and we're thinking there's just like people have just learned a lot of tricks. But then we're like, are there even enough tricks in PoE 2 to learn? Like, like we want more mastery things. Like we want it so that if you're paying attention, you actually can work out, hey, like this thing leads to that thing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, go nuts on this.
We are just going nuts on it, right? Because it won't actually affect the time it takes for a first-time player to play through, because like they're not going to know what it means.
And that's the secret, isn't it?
All right, guys, I think we're going to shut down here. I'm going to get some things done. We'll be back later this evening to go do some Kanto Nuzlocke. So if you enjoy some Pokemon Fire Red, we'll be back here in a couple hours. And then we will be doing our patch notes review on May 21st. And then our 24-hour stream, which is in my bio, you can click on for the live event for the 24-hour stream, May 29th, Path of Exile launch. So thank you guys for hanging out. I'll catch y'all here in a little bit. I'm going to go grab dinner with some friends, and then we'll be back on the stream the rest of the night. Thank y'all again.